Yo, good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? This is your coach Renz, and today I want to talk to you guys about one of the biggest tools that is used to keep you from being able to become the greatest version of yourself. Now, if you've seen other videos of mine, then you know that I believe that the biggest tool that is used against you at all time is the tool of fear. That tool of fear keeps you from becoming the greatest version of yourself. That tool of fear keeps you institutionalized into organizations that you know are not promoting your betterment. It's not good for your welfare. It doesn't lead you into a state of becoming the best version of yourself so that you can live the greatest life that you could possibly live. This tool of fear is used by the negative portions of your brain in order to make sure that you never excel in life. And the worst part about it is you pass it along to the next generation. You pass it along to those in your circle. You pass it along to everyone you come in contact with. And if somebody is outside of your thinking, is outside of the mindset that you have, then that fear will cause you to wage war against them. Whether you do it spiritually, whether you do it mentally or physically, you wage war against them. As a matter of fact, one of my newest friends in my life received threats consistently because he disagrees with the religious beliefs of a lot of people who look exactly the same as he do. Received a threat that said that one day, don't worry about it, people, because one day the police are going to come and shoot him and plant the gun. This person claims to be of a religion of love and peace, but yet this is their response out of fear because he teaches against their belief, because he recognized that your beliefs should not be you. Should not be you. But let's not stay there. It's about fear. That's fear. That's what fear does. But what promotes fear? What continues to engage that fear and broaden that fear and cause that fear to grow and grow and grow, cause it to solidify itself until it becomes a part of your hypnotic rhythm that you cannot escape? What is that one thing? Well, I'm going to tell you what that one thing is. That one thing is propaganda. Propaganda. Now, before I get into what propaganda really is doing to you on a daily basis, let me first give you the basic definition of propaganda and we will go from there. Propaganda. Information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular point of view or political cause. Now, that's a general one that most of us can understand. When I was growing up, the propaganda in America was, as an American, you are to be against the Russians. The Russians want to destroy your way of life. That the Soviet Union and the spread of communism is the most dastardly thing in the world of that day. That is what I was taught growing up as a child. And of course, after Desert Storm, propaganda switched. It became the Muslim scourge, the Muslim terrorist. Now anything that happens, the first thing we're looking for, is it a Muslim terrorist activity? Now if it's a white guy, of course it's not a terrorist. If it's a black guy, if he's Muslim, it's terrorist. If he's not Muslim, then it's thuggery or it's gang related, something like that. This is propaganda. It's the title of things. You see it all the time, but let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go a little bit deeper. Did you know that the origin of the word propaganda, even though it comes from the word propagate, which meaning to spread out, to push information out, was initially used, the word propaganda, a committee of cardinals was established by Pope Gregory the 15th in 1622 to teach priests how to go out into foreign lands and spread their message of Christianity. Now, Pope Urban VIII, he established a school of propaganda to do that very same thing. Now, I know you're going to say from your Christian belief that they were going to spread the good news, which still, evangelical, good news of military victory, that they were going to spread this good news, this gospel, to all these heathens who did not know God, right? Well, I need you to think deeper. I need you to understand something. When a word changes in its meaning, that word usually changes in its meaning because the originators of the word did certain things, committed certain acts that caused the understanding of that word to mean something else. You understand? So let's take the N-word, for example. When the N-word, the Negro, was first used, it was just used to describe the color of the skin of the African. But then as that word changed into something that defiled the African, something that caused you to lose and become subhuman. So now the word has a subhuman connotation. But then some foolishness happened and black people started to embrace that word. See, they tricked you. They used propaganda to trick you into liking the word, to thinking that it's a term of endearment. But we know the truth of it is that that word was used to strip you of your culture, to strip you of your name, to strip you of your heritage, to strip you of your spirituality. That word was used to make you feel subhuman. That word was used to cause you to hate one another, to put enmity between you and your fellow brethren who were suffering under the same heel, for you to focus on your fellow brethren as the oppressor instead of the true oppressor of the black race at that time frame, which was the slave master. So it caused that. And then afterwards, you continue to use that word to try to separate yourself as you try to become closer to white as you possibly can, to ingrain yourself into the American society, hoping that you will be looked upon differently because that word was now meaning for an ignorant person. So you tried to turn it into a word of endearment. And then the foolishness of the rap generation began to make it a word of endearment of my brother or my sister or whatever, which if it's a word of endearment and you have a white best friend, let them call you that. Let them call you that. If you have a white best friend that you know that they love you, you know that they got your back, they will die for you, let them call you that. You see, one of my best friends is white. I'm the godfather of his child. And just as much as I wouldn't let a black person call me that, there's no way in hell he's gonna call me that. But he wouldn't even do it anyway, because if he was that type of person, he wouldn't be my friend. But we changed that, but you see how a word can be. So let's look at this word propaganda. If the Catholic Church created the school of propaganda, and they went out to teach this word, but we understand that this word in today has for centuries has meant that we are spreading rumors, spreading allegations. This word has meant that we are spreading information that may or may not be true, that may have a seed of truth, but is filled all around with poisons that you can't see the poison for the truth, that if it's done that way, then the root of it must come from the same. Let's see maybe what was going on, and if we think about what was going on in the 1600s, right? What was going on in the 1600s? We had the transatlantic slave trade during that time frame. We had America deeply into slavery. We had the divine manifestation where Native Americans were being massacred wholesale. We have the colonization of Africa. We have the colonization of India. We had Christians destroying and maiming and killing people in the name of God all across the world at that time, from the school of propaganda, the school of lies, the school of misconceptions, the school of distractions. And then what happens? That word becomes part of the Germans when they had the minister of propaganda. The Russians had the minister of propaganda. It also became a tool of America in order to continue to get people to be swayed in different points of view. Reefer madness. Reefer madness was used in order to get people to stop using marijuana. It didn't matter that the real reason for getting rid of marijuana was the fact that the hemp industry would have gotten rid of the cotton industry, because the thread that can be made from hemp is far better quality than that can be made out of cotton. It didn't matter that as a medicinal, that marijuana did more things for helping people and healing people than it did for harming people. But reefer madness said that if black men will be smoking weed and they would come and they would rape all the white women. They had to get rid of that propaganda. There was no scientific information to back that. It was none. Cocaine was done the exact same way. Cocaine was used the propaganda of cocaine was that white women were going to become loose and give in to the black man. Heroin was that the heroin addict was going to kill and rob you. The black heroin addict was going to come and kill you and rob you. So we had to get rid of heroin. All these things were used as propaganda to get Americans in the 40s and 50s and 60s to get them to be able to outlaw these different types of... So, I had a little break right there. But yeah, these things were used in order to get people to follow a point of view, and it had no basis of truth. That's what the word propaganda began to mean. Now, if it began to mean that, it came from the root of what it was, what was presented by it. It reminds me of when I was younger, and I had many ministers who kept wanting me to go to seminary school. But here's the thing about it. They all kept telling me that, you know, when you go to seminary, you'll find that fully 1/3 of most seminary students wind up walking away from the faith, right? So you need to be strong in your faith before you go to seminary. Now, I thought that was odd. That was odd to me. If I was going to seminary, wouldn't you think seminary would strengthen my faith? So as a young man, when I was in my teens, I thought that was an odd thing for anyone to say, that you need to be stronger in your faith in order to go to seminary. Then I started realizing that, oh, when you go to seminary, you start learning the history. When you go to seminary, you start learning all the things outside and around. You start learning about the authors, about the people who wrote things, about the political handshakes and deals that created things. And so that kind of propaganda that goes on in the school is what causes people to walk away from it. But I don't want to stick right there for you guys. What I want you to understand is some of the other propaganda that goes on. You see, right now, we have propaganda against North Korea. We have propaganda against Muslims. We have propaganda against terrorists and all these kinds of things. But understand how it works. If a black man would have shot those people in Vegas and he was not Muslim, he would have been a thug or a gangster or a criminal or something like that. But it's a white man, so he's a shooter. If it was a Muslim, he'd be a terrorist. You understand how propaganda works, right? It is designed not only to get you to feel a certain way, but get you to believe that people are a certain thing based on how they look. You see, if it was a if it was a white guy who had maybe tattoos all over his face, or he was, you know, had the carrying the racist flags and all that sort of thing, then he would have been an extremist. Because this looks like an older white guy that you would just see walking down the street, he's a shooter. He's the Vegas shooters. And now they're trying to put it on multiple people, right? There's the thing about multiple people. Now, the thing about this propaganda, it works in so many ways and so in depth. But the biggest trick is to keep you watching and to change the cycle ever so often to things that really doesn't affect you. So I want you to understand this right here. The more I can use propaganda to get you to watch the bigger things that really affect your life, these things on the outer edges, how much do they affect your life? North Korea and America's issues, does that affect your life really? I mean, North Korea put out a video about how Americans are lazy, how Americans waste so much money, how we treat our elderly so poorly, how we are destroying the environment, you know, how we're selfish and greedy. North Korea puts out a propaganda video about that, and for the most part, the information is true. And then we put out one about the death camps and all these different things about North Korea, and those things are true too. But does our evils negate the truth of North Korea, and does North Korea's evils negate the truth of America? No, they do not. Truth is just truth. But what they do is get you focused on these larger things that actually doesn't affect you. None of these larger things affect you. It doesn't affect your day-to-day life. It really don't. Not physically, it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. And then the next level things closest to you, these things, they affect you, they emotionalize them, and they hurt your feelings, and you feel like it's possible. These things are possible. They can possibly happen to you, but 9 times out of 10, these things are not going to happen to you either. You're not going to be affected by these things either. But it is these things that are closest to you, these things at your core. These are the real things, but these are the things they stay away from. These are not the things you're going to see on the news. These are not the things you're going to see the panels talking about. These are the things that, if they can keep you from looking at this, they know that if you looked at these things in your core, that it would change who you are. It would change how you operate. It would change the things you do. It would change how you live your life. But if you're, because see, listen, if you're focused on saving money, if you're focused on educating your kids, if you're focused on increasing the amount of money you have, if you're focused on having better health, if you're focused on those things, you're focused on your community, then you're going to become more powerful. So I can't allow you to focus on that. I need you to focus on police shootings. I need you to focus on nuclear armaments. I need you to focus on oil spills. I need you to focus on a Vegas shooter. I need you to focus on, a Vegas terrorist. I need you to focus on all these other things. I need you to focus on Puerto Rico. I need you to focus on Donald Trump. I need you to focus on all these things, because if you focused on your schools, if you focused on PTA meetings, if you focused on how you can save money, make money, if you focused on buying the properties in your community, if you focused on doing business with those in your community, if you focused on those kinds of things, policing your community, if you focused on the drug trafficking in your community, that will give you more power. That will give you more power. So no, we can't have you focus on that. Got to get you outside of your core self. That's what propaganda really is about. It's about keeping you outside of your core self, focusing on somebody else as a scapegoat for all the ills in your life, when truly the ills in your life occur within the smaller circle that's closest to you. Within the smaller circle closest to you is where the things that actually affect your life. Those are the things that affect you. That's what it is. But you can't focus on that. We must blame something on the outside that's causing that internal turmoil in your life. Because otherwise you would have power, and you can't have power. We can't give you power. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So that's the real of propaganda, people. That's the real of how it works. But in order to stop that, you have to do a couple of things. I'm not saying that you have to bury your sand and not listen to the news and not pay attention to what's going on in the world. Listen to it. Find out what's going on. Keep abreast to it, but see it for what it really is. It's all a distraction. And as one thing starts to fade out, another thing comes in right before it fades out too much, so that your focus shifts and you're still staying in that outer realm. So you were focused on you were focused on the kneeling in the NFL, and then you was focused on the storms, and then you was focused on Puerto Rico, and now you're focused, and I think North Korea was somewhere in there, and then you're focused on the Las Vegas shooter, terrorist guy, and then I keep saying shooter because they see how the propaganda got me, and then you're focused on Donald Trump, shooting jump shots, a paper towel at people. See, they're gonna keep distracting you, There'll be something else later on this week. Don't worry about it. It's coming. Don't worry. It'll be here. Give it till Saturday. It'll be here, right? So Saturday you'll have something new to focus on. The key is, you hear about it, you understand it, you move on. You don't sit there and keep listening to the news. You don't sit there and keep saying that, I gotta see, I gotta watch, because something new may come out. They may have some more information. They know that by continuously allowing all that negativity, allowing all that low vibrational things to come into your life, that your vibrational pattern lowers. The lower your vibration is, the less likely you are to handle the core things in your life. The lower your vibration, then you won't be focused on making sure that you're a healthier person, that you have healthy relationships, that you are working with your schools and working with your law enforcement who are good. That if you're not focused on it, if your vibration is low, then we can keep you from actually doing things to make your life better. So what do you get? You get news, constant news, 24-hour news. You get negativity constantly pouring through your wall on Facebook. You get negativity constantly pouring through your television, constantly pouring through your radio. When you hear things about relationships, all they talking about is the negative portions of the relationship. How often do they talk about having great relationships and amazing relationships? No, they talk about the divorce rate is higher. The divorce rate in Christianity is increasing. The divorce rate in Islam is increasing. The divorce rate in America is increasing. The divorce rate around the world is increasing. More people are not getting married now. People in this country are not getting married. People in that country, they're focusing on all this negativity on relationship, not how to build a better relationship. This relationship is amazing. You guys should learn how to have a better relationship. Learn more about yourself so that you can have a better relationship. We're not going to focus on those kinds of things. They're not going to promote and say that, hey, read the book The Richest Man in Babylon. Follow those tenets and you'll begin to earn more money and have more money and build a bigger financial security for you and your family. You'll be able to build generational wealth by following the principles of the 7 cures to a lean purse or the 5 laws of gold. You'll learn more if you just follow that information. They're not going to tell you that kind of stuff. Nope. We're going to sit up here and we're going to make sure you see that the deficit and the tax reform, we need you to focus on rich people not paying as much in taxes. We need you to focus on the fact that job creation is happening here or job loss is happening there. We need you to focus on all these different things. I mean, we got to keep you moving, keep you focused on something outside and bigger than yourself. I mean, right now, is anybody paying attention to the water issue in Flint, Michigan? No, that's old news. Nobody's paying attention to it. But let 0 things are going on in the news cycle and they'll rehash something from old just to get you back into the swing of lower vibration. So stop watching this news constantly. Stop allowing people to talk to you about it constantly. You can't allow that stuff. It will mess up your chakras. It will cause you to be unbalanced. Trust me, I was coaching some people last night and coaching someone this morning. That's definitely one of the things we talked about is keeping your alignment and your energy flowing in your chakra system. You cannot allow for that to take your way, because when it does, when that energy is dispersed, when your chakra wheels are not spinning correctly, when the vortexes are not bringing in that good energy, then what happens is you begin to lower your vibration. You allow sickness and disease to come inside your body. You allow your body to become, the alkalinity in your body will change. And the next thing you know, you're starting to get sick and feel tired and ill. And you wonder why. Well, you're letting all these low vibrations enter you. And this is what you have to first stop. This is what the propaganda wheel is doing for you. And they know it. And the goal is not for you to have the point of view of America, because you can go to any country and they're going to have their own propaganda going. The goal is to keep the masses of humanity in a lower vibrational pattern so that those in control can do what thou wilt. That's the point. That's the idea. The word propaganda came from the Christian faith. It's a faith of spreading it so that people can be of a lower vibrational pattern. It's a combination of economics, religion, a combination of economic, religion, relationships, and safety. It's all about keeping you low, and it's all together. You have to sit back and see the big picture. See that each one is a different piece of the puzzle, shaped differently, but all fit together perfectly so that you can see the image before you. And the image before you is to keep you from becoming the greatest version of yourself, to keep you from raising your vibration so that you can move to the right side of the polarity scale. That's the point. That is what propaganda is doing to you. So unless you stop, put brakes on it, you will continue to live the basic life that you've been living. You will continue to reach out and expect something great in your life, but continue to come up just short, to always find yourself in need, to always be at a loss. Let me tell you something real quick, then I'm going to be out of here. I was a nerd in school, but I was lazy. My mother worked 2.5 jobs just to try to make the ends meet, and they still weren't always meeting. But she worked 2.5 jobs to do so. She couldn't be the parent who was always at the school and taking care of and making sure that I was getting things done. I was kind of left to my own devices in high school. I was the kind of person that if I had a parent kicking my tail, I probably would have walked away with Ivy League scholarships. But I didn't have that, so that didn't happen. So there's a version of myself that wasn't able to happen, that didn't occur, that wasn't brought forth out of me. I had to bring it out of myself later on, but by that time, I'm married with children. So imagine if my mother wasn't struggling to make the ends meet. Imagine if she had grew up in a society that promoted great financial benefits for all people. Imagine if she was able to participate and be a part of my life in more detail of making sure I got everything done. Who would I have become then? What levels of education would I have attained at that point? What positions of prominence would I have maybe attained at that point? Not that I still can't, but what would have happened in these first 45 years of my life? Where would I be today? You have to ask yourself that question. But if they can keep you distracted, if they can keep you always working just to make ends meet, if they can keep the masses of people always struggling, always just outside of the goal of being able to focus on the inner core of their family, then they always will have you captive. So maybe you got to reduce how much you spend. Maybe you got to reduce the size of your house. Maybe you got to get rid of one of your cars. Maybe you have to do some things so that you have more time to focus on your own personal development and the development of everybody around you, your children, your friends, your family, your community. Because if you can do that, then you can build a greater life and you can build stronger communities. But that would go against the plan. That would go against the plan. And they don't want that. Hence, propaganda, tool of the negative portions of the brain. So y'all have a great day. And remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself. But you can beat this. You can beat this. You can beat this. Allow yourself the time and the focus. Allow yourself to increase your vibration. Eat better. Save money. Invest money. Build a strong foundation. Teach your kids at home. Stop allowing the schools to be the only place that your children learn. Teach them what the schools won't teach them. Teach them critical thinking. Teach them accurate thinking so that you can defeat this idea of propaganda. So free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable, and I look forward to coaching you guys, and please support me on Patreon.